All right, let's jump right into this. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to decode the incredibly fast, massive machine that is modern finance. I mean, every single day, literally trillions of dollars flow silently around the globe in this crazy blur of data and algorithms. So if you've ever felt like the financial world is just spinning way faster than humanly possible to keep up with, well, you're not wrong, but you are in exactly the right place to map it all out.
So think about this for a second. What on earth do a government's massive macroeconomic budget and your personal crypto wallet actually have in common? It kind of sounds like the setup to a joke, right? But the answer is actually the secret to understanding our entire global economy. They are all running on the exact same underlying operating system. Whether we're talking about a whole nation trying to balance $1 trillion ledger or you just checking your digital microfinances on a Tuesday morning, it is all connected by one massive invisible web.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the money management system. Second, the gears of finance. Third, the need for speed. And finally, we'll wrap up with your financial playbook.
Okay, let's kick things off with part one, the money management system.
At its core, modern finance is simply the system that helps people, companies, and governments manage their money. But to really grasp how this works, you have to realize that this is a completely closed loop. We're not just looking at a collection of isolated central banks and Wall Street firms doing their own thing. For example, a central bank's policy decision, say they tweak a benchmark rate by just a tiny 0.25%, that directly trickles down through this closed system. It actually dictates the exact interest rate your local coffee shop is going to pay on its new business loan. Everyday transactions, massive corporate expansions, national infrastructure projects, they are all inextricably tied to this exact same resource management system.
Moving right along to Section 2, the gears of finance. I want you to think of things like banking, investing, stock markets, crypto, loans, interest rates, inflation, and risk management. But don't think of them as boring textbook definitions. Think of them as highly interdependent gears in a finely tuned engine. When they all work together, capital flows beautifully. But because they're so tightly interlocked, if a single gear fails, it basically strips the teeth right off the others. Just look back at the 2008 financial crisis. A catastrophic failure in risk management around subprime loans fundamentally shattered the banking and investing gears all over the world. Capital doesn't just sit still in one category. It's constantly being pulled and pushed by the friction of inflation and the torque of interest rates across every single component.
Next up, Section 3, the need for speed.
So, what's driving all this dizzying market velocity today? Primarily, it's technology. We are so far removed from the era of guys physically shouting trade orders across a crowded pit. Today, high-frequency trading relies on insanely advanced algorithms to execute thousands of complex trades before a human can even blink. And this fundamentally alters market liquidity. We're talking about vast amounts of capital shifting across the planet in literal fractions of a millisecond, constantly exploiting tiny price inefficiencies at a speed that's completely invisible to the naked eye.
And the wild part is, that raw speed isn't just locked away for massive institutions anymore. Online trading platforms have completely democratized the pace of finance. They've taken institutional-level tools, high-speed execution capabilities, complex derivatives, and essentially just dropped them directly into the pockets of retail traders everywhere. You really don't need to be a Wall Street insider to trigger market volume anymore. The access is instantaneous, it's universal, and it's right there on your phone.
Now, because we are all instantly connected, global news acts as a real-time catalyst for all that infrastructure. There's literally no buffer zone left to digest information. A single geopolitical tweet or a sudden headline about global supply chain bottlenecks can instantly wipe out or generate tens of billions of dollars in market cap worldwide. The financial machine reacts the absolute second the data hits the wire. It triggers rapid algorithmic volatility before financial analysts even have time to sit down and write a report. But of course, machines and headlines don't operate in a vacuum, right? The final accelerator here is investor behavior. This is the raw human element: fear, greed, panic, excitement, and it directly compounds all that algorithmic speed. When you combine high-frequency tech with raw human emotion, you get some pretty explosive phenomena. Just look at the recent meme stock rallies, or that herd mentality that drives those massive crypto bull runs and the sudden crashes. When millions of people react to the exact same global sentiment at the exact same time, it multiplies the velocity of the market in totally unpredictable ways.
So you might be asking yourself, why does this massive, global, algorithmic system actually matter to me? We've talked a lot about governments and high-speed trading, but this explainer isn't just some abstract theory lesson. These global mechanics are directly dictating your personal financial reality every single day. Which brings us to our final part, your financial playbook.
Truly understanding these underlying mechanics unlocks 3 very concrete advantages for you. First, you're going to make way better money decisions, mostly because you actually understand the complex environment you're operating in, rather than just blindly reacting to it. Second, you are much better positioned to protect your savings. You'll start recognizing those macro forces early, things like shifting inflation data or sudden market volatility, before they threaten your purchasing power. And third, you can actively identify real opportunities for growth. When you comprehend exactly how tech, breaking news, and human psychology move the markets, you stop being a passive bystander. You actually start recognizing exactly where value is heading next.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. How will tomorrow's global news change your next money decision? Because now that you can see the system, now that you know exactly how the interconnected gears of modern finance are turning at absolute lightning speed, you realize your financial future isn't isolated at all. It's plugged directly into this massive global machine. The only question is, now that you've got the playbook, how are you going to play the game? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and I'll catch you next time.